The Nuggets get a massive win over the Celtics as Nikola Jokic leads the way. We'll tell you the unsung heroes and the secret to their defensive turnaround versus Boston coming up on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being an everydayer and making us your first listen Monday through Friday, whether you're joining us wherever you get podcasts for free, or if you're joining us at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We're glad to have you part of our community. My name is Matt Moore. I've been covering the Denver Nuggets as a credential reporter for 14 seasons. I write at the Denver Dig, at Hardwood Paroxysm, at Fansided, and at the Action Network. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn of Mile High Sports. You can catch him on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast and Sky's own YouTube feed. Go check out the Pickaxe and Roll podcast on YouTube. Tonight's show, we'll talk about the Denver Nuggets' big win over the Boston Celtics. Nikola Jokic leading the way after Jamal Murray leaves sick. We'll talk about the unsung heroes and give you our thoughts on the game in this one, more free-flowing bonus episode here on a Wednesday night. Chat is already bumping. Glad to have everybody here in there, and I'm already taking heat from people, so that's great. Ryan, you're at the arena. I'm gonna let you take the lead here. What was your kind of impression of how things went down at Ball Arena tonight, as I was hampered by the wind and fires on I-25, so I stuck this one out.
You did the right call in staying home and staying out of that. Now, first of all, I look great. I changed out of my great outfit that I was in, but I had a fantastic shirt on today. You missed it. It's too bad. But it was a really good performance from this Nuggets team, and the arena was interesting walking into that. The first thing I said when I sat down and I said something to Ryan Green of DNVR, that's a lot of green in the arena. There's a lot of green, and it felt like there were a lot of Celtics fans and going back and forth, teams making shots. Derek White was dominating early. He did a lot of great stuff for them in the first half. And then it felt like the momentum shifted because Denver continued to play great defense, but they started to unlock some of the offensive stuff that they were hoping for. Nikola Jokic, of course, started making shots later in this game. He was really struggling to make shots mostly throughout it, but it was a really strong end of the third quarter for Denver, and they went on this run sparked by KJ Simpson. It was amazing. He was the hero of the game in this one. There were a lot of guys that I think you can point to, and I know we're going to talk unsung heroes at this point, but like that really got the crowd going. His dunk was the amazing part of this game, where it was like, okay, the crowd is bumping now. Everybody was very, very happy to see him shine in that light, and it was really cool to see. So congrats to KJ Simpson for a great Ball Arena debut.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. That's really great. Like, what a great story. Well, like I said, we'll talk about KJ a little bit more coming up. Jokic in that third quarter, we talked about it in our Everydayers chat, which you can join and go into lockedonnuggets.supercast.com. You felt like Jokic was being a little overly shot pursuant in that third quarter. The fans predictably disagree with you, as they just think that it's awesome when Joker just scores a lot of points and that's what he should do, and everyone should just ride his coattails. So
I mean, I like it when he scores a lot of points too, but he was looking around, and there were possessions like this, especially at the end of the second quarter, when you had KJ Simpson and Zeke Naji on the floor at the same time with, I think, Christian Brown and Cam Johnson. And it was a lot of Jokic looking around at the top of the key and wondering, okay, who am I going to run action with? Who am I going to involve at this point? And what's the best thing for the team? And a lot of it just ended up being, all right, they're going under all these screens for these guys. I'm just going to take a shot. And I thought that he fell into that habit a little bit too strongly. Now, he got himself into a rhythm. He shot himself out of the slump that he was in for a while, and ultimately finished the quarter really well. He had a three that he hit with about 36 seconds left. It was a really impressive kind of step back where he relocated behind the 3-point line. And that was a big swing shot, because it helped Denver kind of pull what was a 5-point game and turn it into a double-digit game with the run that Denver went on right at the end of the quarter. So I thought that was a big one. And then, like, to me, the bench coming in that fourth quarter immediately after that and putting the hammer down defensively, Jonas Valanciunas was great in that quarter. Spencer Jones was great in that quarter. I was really impressed with those guys, really impressed with the way that the team responded. But it was Jokic kind of getting them back into it finally because he just kept shooting the basketball.
Yeah, 30 points on 28 shots is pretty rare for him. I'll check the potential assist tomorrow. I think there's probably going to be more potential assists than like a higher number. I think that just Denver didn't shoot well. Neither did Boston. This was actually a defensive game tonight, which kind of surprised me. Of like 103-84. Nuggets hold them to 84 points. The Boston Celtics, that's crazy. They were on the altitude back-to-back, which that's like what you should do, is you should be able to do this. Like, I don't want to take away from the good win. Just like, why didn't you do this versus the Bulls?
And I want to point out really quickly too that one of the reasons why Boston gassed out in this one was because they had to play so hard in the last game without Jaylen Brown. Like they won that game 97-81, and the only way that you hold a team to 81 points in the NBA is that you play really hard defensively. So them having to do that 2 nights in a row on a back-to-back at altitude it's just a tough ask for any team.
A lot of comments about Zeke Naji, who was a ±0 with 3 rebounds, did not make a shot, missed 2 free throws.
He had a nice block, missed a lot of rebounds.
Yeah, missed a lot of rebounds in that possession. Good minutes overall. I don't really know how to evaluate a lot of this because Joker's reached part of it's like Joker's reached a level, reached many years ago. It feels dumb to be like, you know what you should have done, top 10 player of all time, is the thing I think. Come on, right? But I you try and analyze kind of what you see. And I will say this. I think that Joker's defensive effort has been really good in how many games are we out of the break?
4 games. I would say I'd probably say 12 out of the 16 quarters probably has been really good.
Yeah. I think his defensive effort's been much better.
I agree.
It was bad on Sunday. Everybody's was bad. Like, this is the whole thing. It's like when the team plays bad, it's like, well, everybody was bad. It's like, yes, but also like when I go back and I watch, it's like, this is always the problem is like, we will go back and watch games and watch them in detail. And when you notice these things, they stand out. But like tonight, I just thought the Joker was really good at pretty much everything. I just thought that he had a really good game overall in terms of intensity. Them being able to win like this with the defense is a massive deal.
It's one of the things that Adelman actually pointed that out post game. He said, basically, we have this record because of solely our offense. It hasn't been because of our defense this year. It's been because of our offense that we've been able to win the games that we've won. And so it was nice for them to basically find a different way to win. And to me, that's the way that a championship team is supposed to go. You are going to go through a whole bunch of different ups and downs and different versions of yourself. But the best teams are the ones that find ways to win no matter what the circumstances and no matter what tools they need in the toolbox. That's that to me is why it's exciting when Denver does get back healthy, because they have a lot of really talented players and a lot of really versatile players on the wing in between Jokic and Murray. That they can go to in a lot of these different situations. But tonight it was all about the defense. The shots weren't falling until they finally did, but their defense kept them in the game. And to hold a team to 84 is object, and especially this Boston team. I know that they're tired, but this Boston team has a really good offensive rating for a reason. They might be second in the end. It's either second or third in the NBA behind the Nuggets. They are a great offensive team because of what they do strategically, and Denver took them out of it tonight.
Coming up, I want to talk about the 3-point stuff and how the game kind of evolved from that standpoint. We'll talk more about the unsung heroes of this game, and we'll get into some more about this great win over the Boston Celtics coming up on Locked On Nuggets. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. You got to love futures this time of year. You're able to get great value on teams at a lower price, including the Denver Nuggets, who are behind some other teams in the Western Conference. Good chance to get in on them if you believe they can make the kind of run that we've said that they're capable of. Not only can you pick your cash, but you can also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on NBA Future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're also brought to you today by Indeed sponsored jobs. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, the inbox is overflowing, and the one person you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that's going to say it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. You can spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Wednesday night. Who else do you want to? Who's next? Who do you want to talk about next from this game?
I think that it's tough because I don't know if there's anybody in the starting lineup that I think Julian is a good candidate, because like some of the stuff that he's doing as a scorer, like just off of the dribble and with the DHO stuff, like whether it is the floater, whether it is just like some of the step back three that he had, I know it was kind of in more garbage time than anything, but the step back three that he hit over Luka Garza late in this game was insane. And he just continues to find ways to be successful within this flow. I thought he met the challenge, and I thought everybody basically met the challenge of guarding Jaylen Brown tonight, who went 7 of 21. There's a lot of guys that you can give credit to there. For the first 3 quarters, it was Christian Brown and other guys that switched on, but Cam Johnson had some great defensive possessions. Julian Strawther battled. Jamal did go out in this game, and I know that there's a lot of people that are commenting on this in the chat. I do think that mattered for Denver's defensive performance tonight. Like, they were able to play better defense in part because Jamal wasn't out there. He's been, as Matt has really discussed, and I've really discussed, like, he's been a little bit of a weak link for Denver over the course of these past couple months. But like, he would have tried hard. Like, he just didn't have much to give tonight, clearly on like from an energy standpoint. The word from the arena was that it was basically fluids everywhere for Jamal, was the message that David Adelman put out. So like, if he was sick and he says he's sick, then he was probably very sick.
Yeah. If he's sick enough to have started a game and left, he had to have been pretty bad, but it sounds like, yeah, both ends were uncomfortable. So I hope he feels better.
Gross.
I mean, look, the conversation is like a lot about this, about like, look, you take Jamal off. And a lot of that's just because people didn't like the idea that Joker is responsible for literally anything negative ever. So it's like, haha, Jamal, it's all Jamal's fault. And I'm like, well, okay, defense is systemic. And again, like, I can walk you through the clips and show you like the specific stuff. And like, there's actually one, if you go to the Denver Dig, you can see this one. There's one that kind of encapsulates to me like the whole thing with their defensive problems, where Jamal is late on a closeout because he overhelps. He takes a bad angle, and Gigi Jackson gets around him and gets to the rim, but he is still funneling him to the middle, and Joker's there and just like doesn't do anything. Like, just doesn't do anything. And like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, Jamal got blown by. Yes, but also blow-bys happen a lot in the NBA. And you'll actually notice a lot of really good defenders have high blow-by numbers. There was a stat that was put out on Twitter a couple months ago that was like, look at all these supposedly great defenders that get blown by. And I'm like, that's because they're pushing them to help. Like, that's how you do this, is like, you close out in such a way as to navigate them to where the help should be.
Unfortunately, Denver's scheme is a little bit different because they have the limitation of Jokic as their rim protector. Like, he's not going to be a massive deterrent. And so Denver has to adjust, and you have to cut off as many of those drives as possible. So when the blow-bys do happen, they are more painful for Denver than they are for other teams. But like, I'm with you, of course. Like, Denver, if they're going to make a run, if they are going to be a championship caliber team, then this has to be the level of defensive effort that they give in at least 75% of the games going forward. I think I'm not asking for the moon. I'm not asking for every single game. Nobody should be. Like if you're a Nuggets fan, you should not want them to play this hard every single night because it will gas them out.
I will give you an unsung hero, which is going to annoy people just because like I really thought he played great. I think Cam Johnson was great tonight.
He was great.
Like, and this is the kind of thing that I get really frustrated with the box score stuff about. Cam had 11 points on 11 shots. But he did so in a game in which the Nuggets shot 42% from the field. Nobody was making anything. But Cam was making really good plays. And there was a couple of closeouts. I thought Cam was, I wanted to say this. And actually, I want to note this to you because this was something I noticed this week doing film. Do you want to know the one thing that Julian Strawther's actually pretty good defensively at?
What?
He doesn't overhelp. He stays home. Julian's always like, look, I'm not going to stop the layup or the three. So, like, I'm definitely not like, what am I going to do? So he doesn't go over there providing useless help. Like, a lot of their weak side stuff with Strawther is way better because he's longer, he's younger, he's more athletic, and he just doesn't overcommit to that side needlessly. He's not like, let me walk on over to the other side of the paint. He's always within about a step and a half from closing out. And Cam's closeouts, I thought tonight were great. Cam Val, man, the Cam Val minutes to start the fourth quarter. Zach Lowe, who I love and adore and have known forever and like have texted with, and I've been on his show, but he was talking about how like the Nuggets have learned not to, I really need to pull you back onto my side because you would keep abandoning me. I'm telling you, you don't need to stagger Jamal. If you want to stagger him to get the defense better, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's something there. Like I think it's difficult for Denver to build a great defense with both Jokic and Murray on the floor, as we've talked about. So like, and it's not going to get easier if it's Murray and Val. I'll say that, but I will say like Val had some really nice step ups. There was one where he forced Jaylen Brown into an air ball because he like threatened the possibility of contesting the shot, which was something that Jokic hasn't been doing a lot lately. So I get it. I do. But no, like I think so. Val tried to posterize Neemias Queta at the beginning of that fourth quarter. Thought he got fouled. Everybody in the arena thought he got fouled. It didn't ultimately happen, but they go down immediately. And Val just like he has the ball in the middle of the floor and is like, "I'm going right back at you, sir. Like absolutely going right back at you." And he scored the next 4 points for Denver, and it forced a timeout from Joe Mazzulla, who could sense that the momentum was falling away from his team right in front of him. And it was cool. Like that's exactly what they're trying to get Val for. Like that's the exact moment where Jokic has done a good job of closing the third quarter and the Nuggets have done a good job of extending the lead. And then you push it even further because of your individual presence. So I loved it. I do like, he deserves a ton of credit for sure. Spencer Jones, of course, deserves a ton of credit with those particular minutes as well. I thought that Bruce Brown also had a really good game on the ball in terms of getting under people and getting into these passing lanes. He shot poorly, but like there's a lot of guys I think that we should give credit to for this kind of effort because it just doesn't you don't hold people to 84 points with only a couple of guys playing really well.
Yeah. I try and be, I unnecessarily try and be fair on this show, which is not the thing I should do. I just know that like, so when the Nuggets lost to the Warriors, I was like, look at the like it's a bad schedule spot. Like that's what happened to them. It's like they got hit with a matinee 3 and 4. And if you're a Celtics fan tonight, like I guarantee a Locked On Celtics is like, there's no way that this offense is this bad and is this bad versus the Nuggets. Yeah. So like it's just the back to back. But look, you find them where you got to get them because they do face a lot of good teams. And as much as I'm confident that the more time in between games will be beneficial to Denver over the course of this month, there's still a lot of really great teams. Every night's going to be a battle. Every night's going to be tough, especially. I don't know really how to parse this last year I was like, don't worry about seeding. Just make sure you're healthy. But I'm also like the king of you got to be a top 3 seed. So in the Western Conference, these teams just won't separate. They just won't. Like everybody is bunched together outside of Oklahoma City and San Antonio. It's Oklahoma City and San Antonio fighting for 1 and 2, which, by the way, we'll probably need to talk about at some point. I might bring this up with Cam tomorrow. It's like, there's like a non-zero chance that OKC is going to be in the 2.
San Antonio's been rolling, and OKC, obviously, they're missing Shea over the course of this past couple times. But like, they also have a tough schedule. Like, it's not just Denver that has a tough schedule. It was OKC that was the second toughest schedule in the NBA. So, like, it's tough.
Can I ask you a non-this game-related question?
Sure.
Because we talk a lot about, like, what does the roster look like? And one of the things that I'm always kind of hesitant about these conversations is I see a lot of times that fans about a team or, like, the general NBA discourse will talk about a team and a roster as if it's really, really bad. And then the next year they'll be like, look how good this roster is. And I'm like, it's the same guys that you guys said were terrible. Sure. So instead of this one, I kind of want to point to Boston, where it's like, if I like last year, if I'd been like, hey, Keita, you've been like, cool, but like, he's really good. Like, he's a positive player.
Can I, like, he got Jokic mad tonight when he came down on him. Like, that was, he gave some hard fouls tonight with his hands and with like some extra stuff behind him, trying to send a message, and like it worked, but also I think it got Jokic going in that third quarter and messed with the ball, kind of get the horns thing. But Keita's been great for them this year. He's been great.
I want to ask you,
he was great.
I want to ask you, if you're in Keita's position, right? Because it bothers you when Jokic gets fouled. When it's like flagrant borderline.
Right. Yes.
Okay. If you're in Keita's position, what are your choices? Your choices are get scored on 1,000,000 times because he's bigger and stronger than you, or try and do something about it. Wouldn't you want your team? Wouldn't you want your, like, if it was AG facing off against when AG inevitably has to go up against Wembanyama, don't you want him being physical with him?
Of course. If the alternative is to be passive and to be like trying to get out of people's way, be like, hey, Mr. Jokic, like, really value you as a player and think you're amazing. Let me just not put any hands on you. Like, obviously, if you're the Celtics and if you're Neemias Queta and you're also fighting for a contract going forward, like, I think he wants to be their starting center, and the best way you get to be a starting center, if you don't like have an outside game, if you don't have like a passing game and things like that, is that you have to be an elite defender, and you have to be a rebounder, and you have to be an enforcer and connector. So like, he can do those things and has done them, but also like it was the final straw. And then that got Jokic going. Jokic had been playing horrible up until that point for the most part on the offensive end. And then he got going after that moment. And I do think that those things are connected.
It should be noted, because like there's a lot of discussion about the buyout candidates. I think Saturday is the last day that they can add somebody, like Delano Banton.
I don't think Saturday's the last day they can add somebody. I believe that it is the last day that guys have to be waived by in order to then be playoff eligible for other teams to be signed. So like you'll have to see like whether some of these guys get waived, but like Delano Banton would be great. Chris Middleton obviously would be great. That was publicized by Mark Stein earlier. I think it was either today or yesterday that's something that they're discussing. So it'll be interesting, like who becomes available.
But like Delano Banton, like he's one of their G League guys, and like he played he only played in garbage time. Like it's kind of like an example of what I'm kind of expecting if they add another guy, especially like after adding KJ tonight and having, this is something maybe you can build on. Like I think KJ's been good in the two spots that he's gotten minutes.
But to me, like, it's the injuries that you've already sustained. It's this opportunity. Like, do they win this game if they don't have KJ Simpson?
I don't know.
Like it's at least up in the air, I would say. So like it's a small addition that you wouldn't expect to have to make a major impact, and then it does. And that to me is it's absolutely the case for adding somebody else as long as they're not going to disrupt chemistry.
But yeah, like with the Celtics, it's like you look up and down, it's like Sam Hauser and Baylor Shireman and Vooch and Pritchard and Gonzalez and Jordan Walsh. I'm not very high on Ron Harper Jr., but Garza, who's not really playing as much because of Vucevic. Like they have a lot of guys.
Yeah.
That roster like looks, and none of them play well tonight, but that roster looks a little bit deeper, and it's just kind of interesting how, you win and the roster looks good, and you lose, and it's like this roster is so terrible. And
I will say it looked like they were bereft of talent when the trades happened and when they finally like made their like when Luka Garza was one of the guys that they were signing and they've got like Hugo Gonzalez, like how good is he going to be? He is amazing. His numbers are incredible, and like he didn't obviously play that much.
We argued about Boston because I was like, I think they're still going to be good, and you thought, I think you thought.
No. I actually thought that they were going to be better than people expected. I just didn't think they were going to be this good. Like I thought they were going to be like a 6 seed kind of good.
Same deal. I thought the Suns were going to be good, but I didn't think they'd be like 6 seed.
Right.
Some numbers for you tonight with Nikola Jokic on the floor. The defense had an 83 defensive rating.
Whew. That's got to be a season high.
That's one of his absolute best. Cam Johnson with an 88. Jamal in his 7 minutes and 51 seconds, a 114. So yes, the numbers back up the narrative.
He did get scored on a couple times.
I just don't like. This is I'm resistant to this narrative because it's like I want Jamal to play better defense instead of just being scapegoated as the problem. It's like, yeah, Jamal needs, like, I can tell you Jamal needs to play better defense. He's been the worst defender, I think, for the last 2 months. He's also been so big for them this season in so many ways.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be like this, diametric. And I try not to do the same thing with Yoke, where I'm like, no, Yoke deserves, like, I defend Yoke as being the best in the world online. And I talk about like how he impacts the game and all these types of things. I can also be like, if the Nuggets want to play better defense, it would help if Joker played better defense, and Jamal, and Bruce a lot of the time. I thought Bruce is weird because it's like Bruce, I felt like sometimes he makes the weirdest, most bizarre decisions.
Yeah.
Freelancing, and then sometimes he gets right up under a guy's shirt and makes a play happen. It's really hard for me to assess Bruce's defense.
It's like Russell Westbrook in that regard, where like sometimes you need a guy who can go off script and is going to mess up some things for the opposing team because they're not expecting that person to be there. Like it matters. And like having somebody that's willing to get up into people, I think is a really big deal. No, I think on the defensive front, like this is a good example for them to set of what is possible if everybody is bringing it on the defensive end. Like to me, it's one of the things about 2023 was that they got their offensive players to commit to the defensive end and have great defensive seasons, or at least good enough defensive seasons that it didn't matter that they were weaknesses. Like you have to be connected. You have to be on the same direction. It doesn't matter. Like I would portray Cam Johnson as an offensive centric player. I would portray Jokic obviously and Murray obviously as offensive centric players. And like, if you can get all three of them to play and have a positive impact on the defensive end, then like you've got 5 positives on the floor at all times at that point. And so like Cam, I think, has been better defensively this year than he ever was at any point in Brooklyn, for what it's worth. But like it's been really good to see that this is possible. And like Denver at least has the capacity. And now it's just about like pulling it out of them every time and then seeing if they could do it over and over again. Because that is the challenge. That is the journey, is doing the same. Like that's building habits.
They'll face the Thunder on Friday, and I will be very curious to see. I'm sorry, on Sunday. Friday's Thunder
on Friday, Wolves on Sunday.
I'll be very curious to see what the injury report is tomorrow for OKC.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be surprised if a couple of names pop up as questionable that were out. So
for what it's worth, I would not be surprised if Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson pop up as questionable.
It'd be really funny if they both were just like everyone moves questionable, just like moving chess pieces into position.
I mean, like who knows if it's going to happen, but you best believe that Shea is going to play if he can.
Before we get out of here, we were told we have to talk about it.
Oh, I listened to it.
Okay. I had Gemini run through the quotes and give me the quotes for it. Calvin Booth appeared on the Kevin O'Connor podcast on Yahoo Sports. His first public appearance since being fired as GM of the Denver Nuggets. What was your reaction?
It was funny that he went on KOC's show after that happened. The very first thing that KOC said to Calvin Booth on record was, just to let you know, we're on record, which I thought was really funny because of that whole dust up of like, I didn't know we were on the record, which was hilarious. I thought it was extremely arrogant. I thought that Calvin came across in that entire interview as extremely arrogant and unwilling to admit fault in any of the situations. I know that he's a strong personality. Michael Malone is a strong personality, but like saying it's really difficult to build a team around Nikola Jokic, and like it's actually really hard, and everybody has to be like it is difficult, but like you don't say the quiet part out loud. You enjoy the moments while you have it. And I think he took it for granted. And I think that he doesn't fully appreciate the dynamics that were created with his decision-making and how that ultimately led things to becoming a Cold War. Like it was a Cold War between him and Michael Malone. Might not have been out in the open, might not have had a physical altercation, might not have had a yelling altercation, but like it's clearly behind closed doors, man. Like it was frustrating. It's a frustrating rehash of this whole situation and how we know like there were a lot of problems, and he can't just take any of the fault, any of the blame at all. Like any of it. None of it is your fault at all. Like, I don't know, man. I was rubbed the wrong way by that.
Yeah. He tried to say that the stuff with Malone was overblown, and my only comment on that is I wasn't in the room, but I will tell you that the sources I spoke with inside the Nuggets organization firmly deny that they felt uncomfortable and it made for a toxic workplace. I stand by that reporting. So whether he thought it was overblown or not, that created a situation where it got out of hand. The other thing I think is, he said he felt like he had to bat 1,000. He had a comment in there. It was actually funny. I sent it to you in the chat, and your response was actually funny to me just because it's like it talks about the ceiling. I don't think you can ever put a ceiling. Like this is the whole thing of believing in young guys and thinking that they can be absolutely anything. And this is part of the deal with Peyton Watson, where it's like Peyton Watson is probably not going to reach his apex potential. He could be an all-star. He could be a 3-level scorer. He could be the best player on a team. I don't know if he can be the best player on this team, but he can be the best player on a team.
Yeah.
But there's a very wide outcome where he's just like a really good second player, where he's like a Trey Murphy or a Mikal Bridges or an OG Anunoby or
for the 30th overall pick is amazing.
Yeah.
It would be an amazing outcome.
And so I thought that part was a little off, and just in general, the reason I kind of wanted to just talk about it here was Calvin was the GM for the team that won the championship. And in my opinion, KCP was already done. That was done by Tim Connelly at the deadline, and they waited until the summer because a lot of teams do that. Adding Bruce Brown, I think, was legitimately a Calvin Booth move, and it was a great one.
Collaborative effort, we'll call it, in terms of the coaching staff as well.
The drafting that was made, like he did hit on some guys.
Yeah.
So he deserves credit for being the GM of the Denver Nuggets that won a championship. And it's a shame that this is how it is now, where Calvin's not going to be able to be appreciated when he comes back, and that sucks. That sucks for him because he won a championship here. I just didn't really want to give it its own episode because I'm just kind of like, everyone's moved on.
Yeah.
There's a new front office in place between John Wallace and Ben Tenzer, mostly John Wallace from the basketball side. There's a new roster. There's a new coach. Everyone's moved on.
Weirdly enough, they make it look pretty easy to build a good team around them too.
So back to the Boston game. Do you think they can build on this, or do you think this is a fluke?
Not a fluke. I think so. I was at practice on Tuesday as well, and the consistent messaging at practice was that the physicality was the thing that they needed to apply. And it is a good sign that they took words that they said and things that were discussed and things that were game planned for, and then applied it and immediately had success. It is something that I think you as a coaching staff, you as a team, as an organization can say, look at what happens when we do the thing. We know what the issue is. We know what the concerns are. Now it's just about doing it on a consistent basis. And so I'm glad that they showed that they have the capacity. Can they build on it? Yes. Do they need to do, as I mentioned earlier, do they need to do it all the time? No. And I actually don't think that they should. But it's good to see that they have a tool in the toolbox that they can go to like this. And my hope is that you can do it enough consistently over the course of these next 20 some odd games that everybody feels like they can contribute to that identity, as opposed to it just being only defensive guys.
It's interesting that I'm just kind of thinking about this. The life cycle of teams is always very interesting to me. And so, like, 2019 was so exciting, right? 2018 was like, they might make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, they came out just short. And then 2019 was like, oh, they're not just like making the playoffs. Like, they are definitely making the playoffs, and they won their first playoff series, which I think is a big deal for a young team. And they lose in 7 games to the Blazers because of Evan Turner and Myers Leonard. I will continue to say that. And then, 2020, we were kind of like, we didn't know what kind of to expect. And they make that run, and that was awesome in the bubble. And then, Grant leaves, and they get Gordon, and Jamal gets hurt. And so it was kind of like piecing stuff together. And the next 2 years are just like that year and the year after are just like, well, okay, we're just, waiting for Jamal to get back.
Yeah.
And then 2023 was so exciting because it was like, all right, we're all the way going for it. After years and years of we're not putting expectations on this team, 19 was we want to be a playoff team. And then 20 was we want to make another Western Conference Finals. And then, 21, 22 were jacked. And then 23 was we want to win the title. And they did it. Like, their goal was to win the title in 23, and they did it. 24 was to win the title. They came up short, and that was where it started to get stressful. Yeah. 25 was the miserable year. And now we're here where it's like the games have been so stressful, I feel like, as somebody covering the team, because the expectations are so heavy based off of the changes that they made in front office, coaching, and the roster. Where like this was supposed to be a year, and like everyone loved this team. There's a reason. Somebody was saying like, wow, the Nuggets are second to win the title. And I was like, yeah, that's because the sports books have a ton of handle on them. It's actually not reflective of how good Denver's been. It's that they have so much money on them. They have to have their odds shorter than the other teams because they got so much money on them. So, there is this team in there that people really did feel in the preseason was going to win the championship. And it seems like every game has been a referendum on that expectation, no matter the circumstances, right? And it's frustrating because I think, fans are like, look, I don't have anything else to judge this team on. Like, I would rather judge them healthy, but this is what I've got. And I still have the expectation for them to win the title. And I know that they've got guys out, but I need them to play better because my expectation is for them to win the title, and they don't look like a title team.
Yeah.
And that's why, tonight getting this win is great, but it's also, this is another one that goes in the bucket of like, wow, what a gutsy good win that they got without everybody. This is what makes the NBA regular season hard, is that you just very rarely get full strength versus full strength. Like tonight, the Pistons beat the Thunder. Cool. That tells us nothing about what that finals matchup might be like. Zero. No Shea, no J-Dub, no AJ Mitchell, no Isaiah Stewart. Like, there's no way to really analyze it. So I think this is kind of where I've gotten to, is the NBA regular season matters for putting yourself in the position to win the title. I genuinely don't know how much the NBA regular season, you've talked about championship habits, Ryan. I don't know once you've done it, if that's true. I just don't know if you need to be able to, because it's such a mess. If you show championship habits against the Celtics without Tatum on the second night of a back-to-back, does that show anything?
Not really. But to me, it's not about showing it against another team. It's just showing it to yourselves. It's showing it to yourselves and going through the process of understanding what it is supposed to look like. And I think because Denver has not had these moments where like they've been able to point to throughout the season and say, that's a championship team. That's a championship team. That's what it's supposed to look like. They have not had that opportunity to go through the motions of these ups and downs and then like see what the final form should look like, because there hasn't been no final form for what this team has been. So I do think that it matters to see it for yourself, not to prove it to other people, not to not so that everybody can be like, oh, wow, look out for the Nuggets. It's more about the Nuggets showing to themselves. Like, I think that they're extremely confident. They have the confidence. They know what they can be when they're together. but like they also need a reminder every now and then.
Do you feel like this team doubts that they can do it?
No, I think that they are very self-confident that they can get it done. It's not a question of that, but I also think that winning is a process, and this is a different team than teams in the past. And if they try to win the same team as they have, like win in the same ways that they have in the past when they won a championship, they're going to lose. Because the NBA has evolved. The NBA has continued to get better, and teams have learned a little bit about how to attack that Nuggets team. So, like, how do you continue to find new ways to be a championship team is the question. And so the only way you can do that is on the court.
Okay. Well, we'll see what they've got on the court on Friday. Tomorrow, I'll talk with Swipa about all sorts of topics, including Zeke Naji, apparently, and a number of other things. Hope you guys can join us. Make sure to sign up for the Everydayers Club at LockedOnNuggets.supercast.com. You get a scouting report before every Nuggets game. I'm going to publish a huge thing on OKC and what they've done with Joker to kind of bother him and what the adjustments got to be. That's coming tomorrow. Hope you guys have yourselves a great rest of the week. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.